Hello, Saskia, devotional goddess here. I want to share an insight that I had, and that it's important to acknowledge that we hold our emotions in our bodies. And, coming up to the winter solstice, the holiday season, the culmination of a year, things can come up for us. And I felt it was important to share this so that hopefully it can make a connection for you in your life. Because once we make a connection, it allows for the healing to come to the surface. So last night was the winter sing for one of my daughters at her school. And her father had told her that he would be there. And he wasn't. He didn't come. Turns out he was sick. And of course she can't check her phone at school. So she only came to see afterwards that he had, messaged her at noon and said, "Look, I'm not well, I can't make it." But my goodness, my mind was, and there was one moment where I was nearly brought to tears, and I was like, whoa, you need to ground your energy. This is not the place where you are going to be in this emotion. And I initially, when I was going through the emotions, I thought it was for my daughters. He hasn't shown up, he's let them down. But in hindsight, when I reflected upon it once we got home, I was like, no, Saskia, my love, it's all about you. All the times you felt let down in that relationship, all the times that you felt he wasn't there for you. So this is my healing journey right now, is to pause and draw inwards and to hold myself and to unhook clearing my throat chakra, unhook all those areas where I feel still wounded from that relationship, still wounded of being abandoned, not being there, thinking I was entering into a union, that we were seeing each other as equals and that we were there and we had each other's back. And we didn't have that for each other. That wasn't what our union brought out in each other. And it's what he wasn't capable of doing for me, and I wasn't capable of doing for him. So, in the ways that each of us needed, right? And just witnessing where there is more healing. It's been a very interesting 6 months for me, in the sense that a dear friend came over in September, and she's a widow, but she's found a new relationship. She's been a widow for a while, and she's now found a new relationship. And I met him on FaceTime. And it was so important for me to see. I'd heard about him, I'd heard how wonderful he was and what a good match they were and how well they worked together. But you get another layer when you actually meet someone, be it on the screen or in person. And when I met him, I was like, oh my gosh, this man has such a beautiful resonance, light, energy. And it really touched me to meet him and to see that deeper layer and level of what they have together. And it was an important reflection for me, because I really got to see how I have been protecting my heart and how I've been afraid to let anybody in, to let another man in. And as uncomfortable as that was, and how vulnerable that made me feel, or allowed me to see how I feel. Simultaneously, I could also witness the level of healing that brought to me, and that I was ready to see it because I'm ready to open my heart and be brave and know that I have grown so much. I have sought out the healing and the growth within me on my own, independently, and through other teachers. That I'm not the same person that I was those years ago when I was in my marriage. And I'd always known that my contract between my children's father and myself was really just to bring them into this world. And our contract was to offer opportunities for deeper healing of where we're each wounded. And wherever he is on his path is his journey. All I can take account for is my journey and my process. And I think once I saw that, it also allowed me to take the next step in an opportunity that had been opened up to me last year in a sexual assault that had happened 8 years prior. And when this fellow healer had come up to me and said, I'm putting a claim out, I know you were assaulted by this gentleman, and are you willing to speak about it? And I was like, absolutely, yes. I'm sorry that other people have been affected, and I will bring my voice to the table. But I hadn't written my report on it. I hadn't taken that next step. And in September, it's so interesting in hindsight to see the layers of impact and how they unfold. And in the moment, we don't always know. But often later in reflection, we're able to piece together, oh, when this happened, when I had that awakening that I'm afraid to open my heart and be vulnerable in a relationship again, that allowed this next phase to unfold of like, okay. A month or so later, I was like, I'm ready to write my report on what had happened and submit it. And I did so, and I met with a counsel, and I shared my story, and also was surprised again by when the emotion arose and when it came to the surface to be cleared. And in doing so, it allowed me to make that connection of, I need to do this because I need to speak my truth. I need to allow my throat chakra to open and not be afraid of speaking from my heart and speaking my truth. I think as a woman, and everyone has their own journey and their own story as to how they were put down, how they were not heard, how they were, societally and within our families, we each have our own unique experience. And I want to plant the seed with you that often we have those experiences because we have soul contracts. And our soul has signed up for it in whatever degree, because that is one of our learnings in life, to overcome and to reclaim our voice, to reclaim our sovereignty, to reclaim the parts of us that we have come in to heal. And the more we practice, the easier it becomes and the more empowered you become. And there is fallout that can happen. And what I mean by that is, I wrote the letter. I submitted the statement. I had the meeting. And the initial connection I had with the friend who had reached out to me, I already had a session booked with her, a breathwork session booked with her, because I acknowledged to myself, I haven't done this breathwork healing or practice since that assault. And I knew that it was time to revisit that practice in order to release. So I had a trip booked with her, a session booked with her in Massachusetts. So I took the trip, drove to Massachusetts, and did a very powerful breath work. And I cleared the imprint of the assault from my body, my psyche, and my being. And I can tell you that I know that because this is that other layer of healing that comes about when we release from a cellular level. And that's what I refer to as sometimes we get fallout. You know, we get another layer that comes up as a result of the deep healing. So initially, a week or so after, I had a deep aching in my left hip, from the back of my left glute all the way to the front, deep in my pelvis. And it was from the psoas muscle, and it was very deep. So I worked on it, and I was gifted a massage, and I had the massage therapist work on that too a bit. And then a week later, or I think within the week, I got a massive rash on that left side, which turned out to be shingles. So I'm processing through shingles now. But again, through that unfolding, I began to see, oh my goodness, it's the same spot. It took me a week or so, one, to identify that it was shingles and not just a rash. And then once I realized that, I came to see that this was another layer of the healing, because I came to see that it was the same spot that I'd had that muscle tension, that release from the breath work post-healing. So the connection of knowing that the shingles was really a cellular release from that trauma that had been imprinted in my body. And I knew that because many years ago, I did a deep healing from a childhood assault that I had had. And when I sat and did that healing that night, I also, then it was a full body rash that came to the surface. And it happened 2 nights in a row to purge out and to release that cellular imprint, because I had allowed myself to go in and hold my little Saskia and to allow for that healing and hold her in all the ways that my parents weren't able to support me and help me through that process at the time. They had shown up in the best way possible they knew how at that time. And it was my journey, my path, to go back when I was ready, to go back and to do that healing internally for myself. And this is what we're not taught. This is what we're not educated on and empowered on, is that we come to a tipping point in our adult years that it is our turn to parent ourselves in the ways that our parents were not able to do so. And that's not for everybody. Not everybody has the desire, the capability, the insight to even know that there's healing there to be done. But if you are watching this and you have been with me up to this point in this video, you are a seeker and you are craving and you are wanting to know more about your healing journey. So this is your invitation to look within. Find a guide, a healer, someone to work with. There are so many modalities out there now, so many professionals offering healing. I may be one of them. I may be part of your healer on part of your journey. Someone else may come to mind immediately and be like, oh, that's who I'm going to work with. But you are ready now, if you are still with me, to learn the tools in how to parent yourself, and also to have someone else there to hold that loving, compassionate, unconditional love, healing space for you, to support you on your healing path. I hope this video is helpful and that it resonates with you and also helps to empower you on your journey to healing. It is your birthright. It is our birthright. And the more we learn these tools and embody these tools, the more we get to heal not only ourselves, but our ancestors and our family members behind us, in generations behind, and also our children and our children's children, and all those to come. And we also support in the collective healing. We are in exciting times, and we have the opportunity to do this healing. Know that you have it within you. Know that you are stronger than you know, and more powerful than we have been taught that we are. Much love, many blessings, and follow my link tree. Join my mailing list if this is of interest. I have some specials for the holiday season, and I'm putting together a really exciting launch in the new year. And I hope you'll be a part of it if this resonates and if my teachings resonate. Much love, and I wish you a happy, joyful holiday season ahead. Even if it's a solo joy and contentment in your own heart, or if it is with others. Both are equally important. Much love.